Hello and welcome to the Ninja G YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing off a game called Tabletop Simulator, made by Berserk Games. I got this off Steam a few days ago. I haven't published any videos to my YouTube channel in the last few days because this game has just absorbed my life for days now. You can basically use this game. It's a basic physics-based simulator of a table that you can play board games on, and you can upload images in the form of cards or boards, and you can even upload 3D models to create pieces like the chess pieces on a chessboard or poker chips and texture them. So it's very customizable, and people have been uploading all sorts of games. You can play Epic Spell Wars, you can play the Battlestar Galactica board game, you can play all the classics like chess and checkers and poker and Uno. Any game you can imagine, you can get into Tabletop Simulator, and you can play it online over Steam with a bunch of people, with your friends, or with strangers that just happen to wander into your lobby and join your game. And you can actually make a lot of new friends by doing this, because everybody loves board games. It's just not everybody has the time to get a bunch of their friends together in real life around an actual table. Maybe you don't have the table big enough for it, or a bunch of chairs, or even friends to play with. And if you happen to like board games and you've got nobody to play with, you can find people on the Tabletop Simulator. It's a fantastic game. But more so, I want to talk about HeroQuest, and I'm going to go over to my web browser here, and I'm going to show you this page. HeroQuest on Wikipedia is an adventure board game that was created by Milton Bradley in conjunction with the British company Games Workshop, set in a fantasy world based on the Warhammer fantasy fictional universe. And this game came out in Europe and Australia and Britain in 1989, and then it was released in North America and Canada in 1990. And in '92, it won the It won the Best Graphic Presentation of a Board Game of 1991 at the Origins Award, which is really cool. Anyway, I got this game when I was 12 years old, and at the time I was just getting into Dungeons and Dragons, and I was really into this game. Like, you could get a bunch of your friends. It was like one player who was the dungeon master or the game master, and four of your friends who would play the heroes, the elf, the dwarf, the wizard, and the barbarian. And there was this board where you could position various little props that were tables and chairs and treasure chests and doors, and you could build these elaborate dungeon scenarios for your heroes to go through, and they would roll dice to move, and they would roll some other dice to attack. And it was great. And people have imported HeroQuest into Tabletop Simulator. And HeroQuest is cool and all, but I've sort of grown past the simplicity of the HeroQuest game, and as much as I love HeroQuest, I feel like it's lacking a lot of the depth that you would get in a straight-up pen-and-paper Dungeons and Dragons game, which I have played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons over the years, like from my childhood all the way up through my adulthood, and you can actually do a lot in a Dungeons and Dragons game. There's room for role-playing, and there's lots of depth to the strategy of the combat. So here I'm going to go back to Tabletop Simulator, and I'm going to show you something that I've been working on. In Tabletop Simulator, there's a workshop button. Now, when you go to the Steam Workshop, you can subscribe to various mods that people have been producing for Tabletop Simulator. And you can see I have a bunch of them here. But I'm going to actually not do that. You can see I have HeroQuest, HeroQuest German, another HeroQuest. I've gone to various other modders' pages, and I've collected all of the stuff that they've accumulated for HeroQuest, and even some other mods like this Models Various, which leached a bunch of things from Dragon Age Origins, just to get a bunch of little extra props and 3D models. Now I've collected all of that, and what I've done is I've built myself the ultimate HeroQuest plus D20 Dungeons and Dragons hybrid game. And I'm going to load that up here. Now it takes a minute for it to load because there's a lot of stuff for it to look for. It's all based on images that are on the internet. I have an Imager page where a lot of the custom assets that I've built are located, and a lot of the stuff that was made by other people is located elsewhere. 90, 91, 92, so it's almost loaded. It takes a minute, and there it goes. So this is the table. This is the Tabletop Simulator, and I can use the right mouse button, I can rotate around, and I can show you the big view of everything here. And I can scroll the middle mouse wheel to zoom in. And this is the HeroQuest board, straight out of Milton Bradley's 1992 board game, or 1990 board game. I got it in 92. So you see all the rooms, and then there's pieces where you would put in doors and furniture. But what I've done is I've collected all of the pieces, and I've got them here in this foggy area, and the fog area is a hidden area that the players can't see. They look into that and they'll just see fog. Maybe they'll see a little edge of the wall here. But I can take all of these pieces and I can drop them into the world here. And so now, let's say this is the dwarf and he's playing the game, and he comes in and he's on the stairs, and I'll take a door and I'll put the door down in here. So then on the player's turn, he would take some dice and he would roll to move. And so that's 5 to move, and he'd be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now he's in a new room. And then I would say, well, in this room you see some other furniture, and there's this, and there's this, and there's these other things, and all these various bits and pieces are located in the dungeon. And then the dungeon master, he's got his hidden area down here where he's got all the monsters, and you could put some of the monsters in there. And it's actually got copy and paste options. I can hit Control-C, and then I can Control-V, and I can fill the room with goblins. And then I can zoom way in, and you can see there's all these here. And Tabletop Simulator is great. There's even animations, so when the dwarf rolls to attack, he can go like this, and the goblin reacts to it like he got hit. And then when the goblin gets killed, he falls over dead, just like that. How great is that? Animated miniatures. That's something you'll never get in an actual Dungeons & Dragons game or a HeroQuest game. So then, of course, there's a bunch of dice here. Using the Dungeons & Dragons D20 rules, I've replaced the HeroQuest dice with a variety of other dice. You use the 20-sided dice to roll to attack, and if you hit, then all the weapons do different amounts of damage. You roll the specific dice for that to do damage. And to keep track of the health, you can right-click on stuff, and I can go over here where the goblin is, and I can say he got hit for a point of damage, and now he's -1, and if I hover over here, it's goblin -1 health. And there's also a notepad, and I've got a bunch of the player stats here, so you can see the hit points of the various classes. Now you have the regular ones like the wizard, and the elf, and the dwarf, and the barbarian. Those are the traditional 4, but I've also added a couple new ones, custom ones of my own. I've got the rogue, because everybody likes a rogue. You can sneak around and you can backstab enemies. That's fun. And I've also added the paladin, because it's nice to have like the cleric of the group that can do some healing and turn undead. And then there's also magic. Now, they came out with an expansion pack for HeroQuest, which was all based on the elf, and so the elf has his own custom spells, the elf spells. But I figured the wizard needed some love too, so I came into the wizard, and I made a bunch of custom custom modified spells, right? So I can just go through all these cards here, and you can see there's this one here. This is a dark spell. This is an entire new set of spells for the wizard. And this is a novice necromancy spell, and it's got a level 1 in the corner there, and this spell summons undead. And over here we have master necromancy, which is level 3, and that lets him summon a lot more undead. And so I wanted to add some more powerful spells, and I've rearranged some other spells, like Heal Body was in the original game, but it was an earth spell, and I made it a water spell because water seems to be the healing spells. And Genie is an air spell, but I made it level 3 because it's a little bit overpowered. But then I've even changed the effect of what the spell does. I've added a new description in here, because the original one was kind of plain, and I mean, in a game like this where you can just do basically whatever you want, I figured I would make this like a real Genie of the Lamp where you can ask for 3 wishes, but the Genie's going to be a bastard and he's going to try to give you what you asked for, but not exactly what you wanted. So that's all fun. Some of them don't have card art yet. You know, I've been working on this for days, but I haven't drawn up custom artwork for all of my spells yet, but I wanted to get them into the game, so here you have Disintegrate, level 2, Earth spell, but unfortunately no card art. But you can still use it, that's fine. And now, previously the wizard had access to 4 spell classes, and now he has dark spells also, so there's 5 spell classes, and there's 5 spells in each one of those schools of magic. There's Earth, there's Fire, there's Air, and there's Water, and now Dark. And you might notice that there's a couple equipment cards here. The wizard here, he starts with a dagger, as it says down here, and there's also a wooden torch. The wooden torch is new. That's a new equipment card which I've made. Now I'm going to go over here, and here, this is like my hand. This is the Dungeon Master's hand that the players can't see. And there's a variety of equipment cards here, regular ones that came with HeroQuest, like the shield and the plate mail. Well, HeroQuest didn't even have cards for these. Somebody made these cards, and then I made my own cards, like the long spear and the bow and arrow set. Those are nice. And I've also added a bunch of potions, like a bottle of holy water and tinctures of poison, and there's these tokens of poison, so you can poison your weapon and then enemies get a poison token on them. And when you use the bow and arrow, there's a quiver of arrows, so you can run out of arrows after you use a bunch of them. And here you can see the monsters in the game. Now, the original game, you might be able to tell there's a bit of a color difference between these cards and these ones here. These are new ones that I've made, and they follow the same formula as the original cards. I couldn't quite get the color just matched exactly right. Something about Photoshop. It looks right in Photoshop, but when I make it a JPG and save it out, it doesn't quite have the same fleshy peach color to it. It's a little more of a yellowish, but you know, it's got the stats and it's got the information, and I've made some custom little decals in the corner because the originals all had these little orcs and femurs and mummies and all these. So I made some custom ones for these. There's giant spiders, and there's the gargoyle. I used this here, which is actually a chimera. They don't have a gargoyle in the RPG set. Tabletop Simulator is great. They have produced so much content. Like, I can go in here and they have just animals, and they've got lizards, like dragons and hydras. They've got so many things, but they haven't got a gargoyle yet, so I'm making do with what I've got. This one here's the regular color. This is from the elf expansion set. This is a giant wolf, so it's got the original colors. It's really strong. I guess that was meant to be for higher level players. It had werewolfism too, so I took the werewolf model from Tabletop Simulator and I made the werewolf card, so you can have enemy werewolves and the player can become a werewolf himself. Now, just like Dungeons and Dragons, you can gain experience points, and I use poker chips for that. So whenever the players kill a monster, like let's say they kill a goblin, I total up all of his points, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would have the goblin, when he gets killed, he's worth 50 points, and then I just control copy that, and I go over to the player and I say, you killed a goblin, here's 50 experience points. That's what those are for. And whenever the player gets an item, I can pull the item and drop it here into my hidden area, and I can say, well, when you searched for treasure in the room, you happened to find a spear. And then the player can sit here and he can say, oh, well, I've got a spear. That's better than my dagger. Well, the wizard can't use it, but he could give it to the elf, and the elf will say, oh, a spear, that's better than my short sword, and he can equip the spear, and then he'll use that instead. Now, let's see. I'll go to the black cards here. This is a lot of information, so I tried to put a bunch of this into the game itself, where players, new people that come into the lobby who want to join the game, they can look at the cards and get some information about it. So this has some details about what the character stats mean. They no longer mean what they originally meant in the original game. I wanted to make it more like Dungeons & Dragons, so let's say this is a character sheet. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons, when you gain levels, you get an attack bonus, right? So instead of using 3 attack dice like HeroQuest used to use, now this is like a +3 bonus to hit. You roll the 20-sided die, and you do +3. So whatever you roll, +3, and that's your attack. And then the enemy, he has defense, just like the players have defense. And I'm going off like 8 is like the base. So if you had an unarmed opponent, or if you were unarmed and you were fighting an unarmored opponent, you would have to roll an 8 or higher if you had like no attack bonus. But in this case, you have 3 to attack, and the enemy, let's say he has 2 to defend. That would mean you're trying to roll a 10 or higher, like 8 plus the 2 defense is 10. And if you roll your dice and you get like a 7 plus 3, that would be a hit. So that's a little bit like the Dungeons & Dragons rules for hitting. And then also, I have the experience points listed here, and then also I have down here, I have the various classes in the game. I wanted to make them more interesting, so I've given them all 4 abilities. So the Barbarian, he's got Battle Cry, and he can go Berserk, and he's ambidextrous, and he has a Mighty Grip, and the Elf has Elven Magic and Keen Eyesight, and the ability to control animals with Force of Nature, and some Alchemy skill. So each player, while he's playing the game, he has a bunch of options for different things that he can do that nobody else can do. It just makes each player feel a little more special, like he has a little more agency in the game. And there's enemy spells, so if you have a spellcaster, he can... Here, I'll shuffle these up. Let's say if the enemy was casting a spell, I would shuffle them by picking them up and holding the R key to rotate. And then I would say, the enemy casts this spell, and I can press Alt, and it zooms in, and you can see he would restore some of his minions with that spell. And then I could shuffle it back into the deck. And if the players find a powerful item in a treasure chest behind one of the boss monsters, and I could pick this up and I could shuffle it, and the random treasure the player would find is this Elixir of Life, which can bring back a dead hero. That's really useful. And then also there's various treasure cards. Now, in HeroQuest, when the player would search for treasure, he would randomly search for treasure through the treasure deck, and sometimes it would be a hazard, and sometimes it would cause a wandering monster to enter the room and attack him. But other times there would be gems or gold or healing potions or other items like that. I wanted to take some of that randomness out of the game. It can still be random. I've got this section in the corner here, and I'll say like, maybe there's like a 20% chance that the hero is going to get a trap, otherwise he's going to get a treasure, and I'll roll it, and the 10's in the 1's place, 54, that wasn't within that 20, so I'd say, alright, you found a treasure, and I'd give the player one of these. But instead of giving him the actual card here, I would just copy it, and then I'd go over and I'd say, hey, this is what you found. So, that's pretty much the HeroQuest game. It's taken many hours making all this custom content, custom equipment, custom stats, custom monsters, custom everything. And little by little, I'm adding more and more to the game. And so far in testing, I've had some really good groups and some really good games. They can go on for hours and hours and hours, like 3 or 4 hours of gaming, and it's a lot of fun when you get a bunch of people. Right now, it's set up so that you have the Dungeon Master sitting here in the white space. This is the default main space for whoever's running the game. And then the players have different colors going all the way around the board. And then it gets to this spot, which I have left empty. I don't have that many character classes, and I needed a spot where I could stick all of the props that you can put into the game. And so that's what this is. This is just like a little sidebar for me to have all the props in the game. And I've even got the main board itself with a grid and grass, so if you wanted to, you could unlock the main board and you could hit delete to get rid of it. And then you could go around on here and you could just drop trees all over the place, and then the players could have an outdoor adventure where they're running through the woods fighting ogres or something. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with it, with a big wide open space, and then you could say, well, maybe you're looking for the dungeon, and somewhere out here in the woods you put a stairs, and that's the stairs that are going to go down into the dungeon. And then when they actually get to the stairs, then you can grab everything, and you can delete it, and you can drop the board back in there. Tabletop Simulator gives you options where you can actually right-click on something and save it to your chest. So all you'd have to do is unlock the board, save the board to your chest if you're hosting the game, or if you're a moderator of the room, then you have those options. And then after you clear away all the miscellaneous junk, then you could actually just go into your chest and to your saved objects, and wherever you've got it saved, there you go. The board is back. I'll just line it up here, drop it down, lock it down, and then you can put stuff on it and it's not going to go anywhere. Although I've got something under it, so that's not working out too well. Bam, it's gone. One other thing that I've worked on is, since there's so many new items in the game, I figured the player should be able to buy and sell those items. So I've gone in and I've made the blacksmith shop have all the new weapons, and the bow is in the bowyer here, and a lot of the potions that are available, they're here in the alchemist shop. And the wizard never had an option to actually buy anything, so the wizard could get all the gold he wanted, and the only thing he could ever buy was the stupid staff. And that's dumb. I mean, if the wizard wants to buy some wizard stuff, he should have the option. So I put in the wizard cloak and the spell ring and the talisman of lore, all that good stuff that the wizard would only normally be able to find randomly in the dungeon. Now it's all available here in a shop, so the wizard will have something to spend all of his gold on when he gets it, and that makes playing a wizard a little more fun. So, that is the Ninja G HeroQuest Plus, and I hope you enjoy playing it. I had an enjoyable time adding to it and playing some test games, and I think you will like it too. Thank you very much. I'm just going to bring attention to this. Here's the Steam Workshop page. If you come to the Steam Workshop page and you subscribe, then you'll be able to get all the updates that I add into the game. You can see the change notes here. I have been working on this a lot for days. So starting on March 20th, going all the way up through March 24th, you can see everything that I've updated every day. And I've got 108 subscribers so far, so I think it's pretty popular so far. I've got good comments too, like Monson says, "Awesome experience, thank you." So I think you'll like it. And also, if you're watching this video here on the Steam Workshop, then I hope you'll also take a look at my Ninja G YouTube page. I'll try to put a link in the workshop for you to take a look at. I've been playing Skyrim. That's my main focus here on the Ninja G Skyrim page, but I'm also a game designer, and I've made games of my own, like the Blood Mage Quake videos here. That's a game I made many years ago that you could take a look at, and there's download links as well. And I also do reviews. You can see I've reviewed Dig or Die and Darkest Dungeon, and I played the pre-alpha of Unreal Tournament, and I've got some tutorials for game design stuff. Here I've got a 42.41 minute tutorial on making sprite tile sets for a Zelda-style top-down RPG. And I'm really looking forward to the Elder Scrolls 6, so you can see my thoughts on the Elder Scrolls 6 is one of my most popular videos on here. Lots of goodies. I'm hoping to get more subscribers to that, so you're welcome to come to my channel and watch my videos. Please subscribe and give all my videos a thumbs up. And basically that's all I'm going to say on that topic, so thanks again for watching, and have a good day. I hope you have fun playing my game.